Hello, welcome back. Let's continue our implementation of authentication flow using OpenID. So up to now, we have covered up this part, right? So the client will actually go to the login endpoint, and then you are redirected to our Keycloak, and then we actually sign in with our credentials, and we then receive the authentication code. That's up to here that you have done already. So which is basically this step here. And now we need to implement the rest of the flow. And for that, we'll need to add some code. And basically we are implementing this following part using Nginx, which is this project here, which stands for Nginx JavaScript extends Nginx functionality using an ECMAScript compatibility interpreter. So basically, we can use JavaScript to implement extra functionality that we need, and that's what you're gonna be doing. So Nginx JavaScript, it is basically a module that extends a service functionality through JavaScript scripting. And we can find some more information in here. For example, the reference, we can see some HTTP requests and what the HTTP request object comes with that we're going to be using this a lot. Another thing that is good to be aware here is that there's a JavaScript engine. It is a Nginx engine that you're going to be using, which is the standard one. And this is, let's say, is not the full JavaScript engine that you are used to in the browser or using Node server. It's a subset of it. So it's important to have this in mind. And we can see that this comes with some built-in modules. So we can use buffer, crypto, file system, query string, web crypto, XML, and zlib as part of this implementation itself. So don't need to kind of import those to be available. And extra things that you have, it is Nginx fetch option and share dictionary. So it's what comes with this JavaScript engine that you're going to be using. And if we need something else, we will need to kind of see how we can use node modules in our Nginx JavaScript. And this we can see here. So we're not going to go much deeper here because I want to keep this first phase in a more architecture layer level and not get to the weeds of JavaScript and a lot of coding. So this is a architecture focused course. So let's try to keep in this a bit more high level, at least for now. So later we'll have to kind of get some extra library, especially to validate token and things like that. So we'll come back to this later, but let's try to keep the focus on the architecture for now. So this is basically it. I think we need to know about the Nginx JavaScript engine. Let's try to now implement the final phase of our OpenID Connect flow. So I have imported here now a JavaScript. We'll actually implement this last phase. We're gonna go there very quick. So what we have done here as well, it is like what we had before was just a message, right? And I'll have replaced this with this directive here that is basically saying it's a JavaScript content, and we're gonna actually be returning from this function. It will be returned, will come from this function rather than just a simple string that you had before. And another thing that you have added, we have added another endpoint. It would be called token endpoint, and we will want to kind of proxy this call into Keycloak again, and now to the token endpoint that Keycloak implements. The important thing that you can see here that is a bit different, it is like here we are using the host name rather than the IP that we have here, localhost. This is because this is called from inside the Docker container, and now you can refer this as the host name. Here is actually from our local machine, some from the host, and this from here we don't know how to resolve this this host name here. And then this is localhost, so it's basically your browser. It's accessing this, and this is not your browser anymore. what is actually accessing is the JavaScript code. It's from inside. Okay. Let's just dive into this functionality here. It's authn. So what we have here on Nginx NGAS, we have this file authn JavaScript, and this is what we have in our JavaScript, right? So we start implementing the function that will be actually exchange the code from token, right? And what we're gonna do, we're gonna log what is the argument code that we have, which it is coming from here, right? So this is argument code. Then we will grab the code, put in a variable, and let's say build a post data request. So basically we have passed here some parameters that is required for this token request, which is basically grant type, authority code, and you're gonna pass our code that we got, and you're gonna say what is the head directory that is this code it is related to, and then we just kept here what we had before, and we have to pass again the client ID and client secret for that, and it's basically that. So we're gonna log it here to see what it's being passed, and then we will send as a post and pass these parameters as part of the body, and we have to set here a header, which will be application form URL included. That's what is expected in the Keycloak, so it's important to set this content type header. So we're gonna be sending this, and we are gonna be using our internal endpoint for that. So we'll be calling our token endpoint that we have created here, and this should make sure to forward to the Keycloak. Another thing we have here, it is we're gonna pass the parameters, and you have the callback function, which will then get the response from Keycloak, set, parse it in JSON. So this is a simple text, and we're gonna parse it in JSON. We're gonna get here our response in a JSON format, and then you're gonna check if there is access token as part of the JSON, and if not, you're gonna return that invalid code. Otherwise, we will just return what came from Keycloak. Okay. Why we are calling our internal endpoint in proxy to here rather than call this endpoint straight? It is because we might want to use this endpoint from outside as well. So we can call straight this token with the code and be able to use it from outside as well. Let's see if it works. So another thing that you have to do here is actually export this exchange code, this function that you had here, because it will be called from here and it will be make that public version of it. Let's see if it works. Let's just hit start here. So hit started. Authn it's working fine, and we have Keycloak work as well. Let's try to go through the whole flow again. So we are gonna go to login, and we're gonna say super user, and then you can see that it was redirected, and we completed the flow, and now we have actually access token, we have expiry, we have ID token, and you have of type of the token type as well, and some other information. You have the scope OpenID and SSO that you have set on our Keycloak configuration earlier. So this actually closed the loop, right? So now we have our ID token and our access token available for us, and from here you will be able to call endpoint on our application, and then forward. So what you have here, we have completed this flow from the user perspective. Next, we will now try to actually complete this authentication flow from the self's perspective as well. And then it will not require a user credentials to log in, but the application will be able also to authenticate on our gateway. And once you have this, you will be able to call the backend services that you have in our private network. So stay tuned and see you in the next lecture.